Welcome to the new season of the All Access Entertainment Podcast, and we have a very special guest for you for this special episode to launch it all off. He is one half of the legendary WWF tag team known as the Powers of Pain. Of course, you've seen him NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, WCW, most recently as a presenter at the Hall of Fame for the WWE. Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Warlord. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Terry, it's a pleasure to have you here, and we'll kind of touch base on different points in your career over the years. Let's kind of rewind back to the beginning briefly. You know, growing up as a child, when did you first discover pro wrestling? Who were some of your favorites growing up?
Actually, no, we had, I grew up in Minneapolis, Bloomington, Minnesota, just a suburb. And I used to watch the AWA with Vern Gagne, Billy Robinson, The Crusher, all those guys back then, and I enjoyed it every Sunday morning. I'd be on, and I'd always be up Sunday morning to watch.
Excellent. Now, experiencing, you're basically breaking into the business. Let's go to that point in your career. Was it nerve-wracking for you? Is it something that you knew from the beginning you wanted to do, or was it something you kind of just tried out? How did that all unfold for you?
It actually was pretty much something I was just going to try out. I used to train at a gym called The Gym in Plymouth, Minnesota. And one of the people that was there working out when he was home all the time was Animal of the Road Warriors. And he would always kind of stare at me every time he'd come to the gym. And I was looking at my partner. I said, man, am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? I mean, I know who it is, but he keeps staring at me. And all of a sudden one day he came across the gym and came up to me and said, hey, big brother, you ever thought about professional wrestling? I said, nah, not really, And it took him about 5 times. The 5th time he came over and he said, are you ready? I said, yeah, I'm ready. And he grabbed my hand so quick. He brought me to the front desk. We started going over names. That's when we came up with Warlord. And he said, I got to say about Eddie Sharkey right away and start getting trained right away. Wow. So it wasn't something that I was so sure on. I knew I was plenty big for it. I had to look for it. I didn't know if I had quite the heart for it, but I found the heart. The heart came.
So we gotta thank the late Road Warrior Animal for really getting you in the business. That's fantastic. And
Animal's great. I miss him so much all the time, man. He was my brother. He really was. When I had questions, I talked to him and that's something he'd give me a lot of good answers.
Right. And they say everything happens for a reason. If it weren't for Joe being there in that moment, maybe you never would have found that path to pro wrestling.
Yeah, I probably would have never got in it. Probably.
Although with a physique like that, I think it was destined to happen. The Warlord, such an iconic figure in the wrestling world. Now let's talk about the WWF. The Powers of Pain, obviously legendary tag team. Of course, you had a great singles run as well, completely different look, an iconic look that people still remember to this day. Did you prefer the tag team wrestling? Did you prefer the singles?
I like both. I think it's great if you can do both. Obviously, as a tag, you got a partner, so you share the ring and that stuff, and if you get a little tired, you can get a little breather and that stuff, which really helps a lot. And you get out there, you can perform a little bit harder and that stuff. When you're singles, there's no breaks. You go. I mean, it's straight through, boom, 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 So, but to be able to do both is an accomplishment. And like I said, I really enjoyed, and I was lucky enough to have a great partner in Barbarian, of course, 39 years now. And I was lucky enough to be good enough at singles, and pretty much almost everybody I wrestled in singles is almost all Hall of Famers. Yeah. Almost every one of them.
You're in good hands, yes. And soon to be Hall of Famer, I would assume the Warlord. I mean, you've been in the business, like you said, for so long. You've accomplished so much. Are you hoping to be in the Hall of Fame one day?
It'd be nice. It'd be an honor to be with all those guys. I mean, look at all the great people that are there. There's so many. I mean, so many greats that. Like I say, it'd just be an honor. Last year when I got to induct Demolition into the Hall of Fame, which was so much fun, I enjoyed it. Of course, I had to be the first one up there to talk when I first came on. I said, I haven't done this in a long time. I haven't talked in front of this many people in a long time at once,
Yeah.
and I'm talking in front of all my brothers and sisters out there. And it's like, oh my God, I better be good. I better be good at what I'm doing, because I'll never hear the end of it. And lucky enough, everything came out really good, and I enjoyed it. But looking down, you see, of course, Triple H front row. You got John Cena front row. I mean, you got anybody that's anybody right in front of you, staring at you straight in the face. So it would be an honor to be in that group. Really would.
And let's talk about that night a little bit. The Demolition, long overdue, finally taking their spot in the Hall of Fame. And it was so special for me and probably for most of the viewers to see you, Haku, Arn Anderson, some true legends of the world to honor the Demolition. Take us back to that night, kind of, being backstage, being a part of it, even getting the phone call to induct them. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was great. They Ben Brown from the WWE office gave me a call and said, we'd really like you to be, one of the people to induct Demolition, and they would love it. And I said, man, that's an honor. It's great by me. I'll do it in a second. No issue with that. And it's funny because that day got backstage, we're up in the green room, and here I am sitting there. I'm with Haku, I mean, big legend, WWE, Arn Anderson, Hall of Famer, Kevin Nash, Hall of Famer, X-Pac, Hall of Famer, all these guys, and they're all telling their stories, and I'm just listening. I mean, just all the fun stories I got to listen to and be a part of again, and that stuff was so neat. The funniest thing is when it come time to put on our ties and our jackets.
Yeah,
that was something else, because I could not put on a tie for my life. And some of the other guys couldn't either. So we had to help each other on the ties. And then when it came to the jackets, even worse, because most of our shoulders, everything else is so destroyed. We had to go ahead and help each other put our jackets on and back to get out there and that stuff, So but that's a brotherhood. Everybody helping each other. No matter if you haven't seen them in a long time or anything else, everybody's trying to help one another. And it made everything so much easier for going out on stage and that. And like I say, I really enjoyed being out there, and I really enjoyed helping Demolition go into that Hall of Fame.
And that's the nice thing about the pro wrestling world is, you could not see somebody for 5-10 years. Once you see them, you pick up right where you left off. It's like a big family. It really is.
It's a brotherhood because of what we all went through, the blood, sweat, tears, our hearts, what we gave out, what we did in the ring and gave for this business. And just to see that somebody's still alive and still getting around, it makes you feel good. Too many of my brothers have died already, and it's sad. It hurts because I wish that many more would live, and it's a tough business. It's a tough business.
And I'm sure you were thinking that evening, as most guys do when they're coming through that curtain for the first time in a long time, are they going to remember me? And you guys got a great pop, when you were introduced as the inductors, and that was just a great moment. What did that feel like coming out there?
Oh, it was great. I think they announced Arn first. I think they announced Haku second. They announced me last, and the Miz announced me, and he did a great job of announcing me the way he did it. I mean, it was like, wow, man, I haven't heard that kind of the Warlord like that in a long time.
Yeah.
But we had great people to announce us and that stuff, which really helps. And it felt so honored to go out there and everybody be clapping for you and everything else, and it made you feel really good. It really did.
And you mentioned 39 years with the Barbarian. Tell us a little bit about your friendship, how that started, how you guys even got paired up together. Obviously, that happened prior to the WWF. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was in the NWA. I'd known Barb for a little bit. The first time I'd ever seen was when I first came to the NWA in 1986 as a singles wrestler. When Animal got me the job down there. And when I went to the gym, I trained at this one gym down there, and Barb trained there. Now, I didn't know Barb, and Barb didn't know me. And all I know is I saw his wife coming with this basket. And this basket had these two big arms and two big legs sticking out of it. It was their oldest son, Joey. And he was a little monster when he's still 310 pounds, a kid, strong as an ox, too, over 500-pound bencher. Big kid. But I mean, it's like, what is that in that basket? I mean, who are these people? It's like, wow. And, we really didn't know too much about each other at that time. I had to go to Kansas City. And from Kansas City, I got somebody came in, saw me, took me to Japan. And when I came back home, I had enough of Kansas City. I had to go somewhere else and learn. So I said, I'm going back home. I'm going back to Minnesota for a while. And out of the blue, J.J. Dillon got a hold of my parents' telephone number. Don't ask me how, but he got a hold of my parents' number. And my mom came up and said, Terry, there's a J.J. Dillon on the phone. J.J., what'd they do? Call me at your house. I was like, what? So I talked to him. He said, we want you back down the NWA in a week. So I got in the car and drove back down there and got back into the territory. By this time had been so beaten up because everything was the same thing. Nothing changed. And I went to my first house show. There was maybe 50 people there. I said, this isn't the NWA I knew. When I was here before, this place was on fire. You couldn't find a seat. Now all of a sudden the whole place is empty. And Barb and me just kind of started getting along, talking. And just our looks, everything else just went along so well. And Animal comes up, he says, you guys need to go together. He says, you are the tag team that'll make us true baby faces because you guys are bigger than us. And if you guys put us down, people will believe it. And it'll truly make us real baby faces. Because right now the people love us, but we're not real baby faces. With you guys, we can be real baby faces out there. And Barb and me talked, and we just got along really good. And we started kicking out names with Animal. And of course, Animal was a part of it again. And we came up with Powers of Pain. And it just happened to click, and we just happened to, from there on, it just took off from there.
And for a short period of time as a tag team, you were paired up with Baron von Raschke as your manager, as the Baron. It was very brief, but what was it like working with him?
Oh, Baron was great. Baron's a very quiet guy, very laid back. He sure knows the business. He's been around a long, long time. He was perfect for what we did because he wore that big black robe with the head thing going over. And we went ahead and we painted his face all white for him. So if he did put it up, all you see is a big white face. You didn't really know who it was. And you could tell it by the way he talked because he had a certain accent and that stuff, But it was great. Baron was super. In fact, I just saw him back in St. Louis. Let me see. The week after I was at your show up in New England, we were in St. Louis and Baron was with us. And it was really nice to see Baron again.
Now, when you split as a tag team, or they transitioned you to singles runs, how was that presented to you? Obviously, sometimes when guys kind of go their separate ways, their careers fizzle out. But that wasn't the case with you guys. You had a new iconic look. Barbarian had a new iconic look, and you kind of fit in perfectly once again. But how did that happen for you?
Vince just kind of said, I want to separate you guys. I think pretty much because the Road Warriors were coming in at the time. Which I understand because Vince always wanted to have the Road Warriors. That was always his thing. He always wanted to have them. So, I understood everything, and, they gave me, I really liked the outfit that they created for me. I thought it was very futuristic, very different. And Barb's outfit was very good. It fit what a Barbarian's all about, So, and he said that, pretty much I want to try working you where you'll be going, Warlord will be going Hogan down the road and Barbarian will be going to Ultimate Warrior down the road. That was pretty much the outlook that what he came across and told us.
And obviously, went from the Baron to Dr. Harvey Whippleman as a manager. What was it like working with Harvey over the years?
Harvey was a good guy. I mean, Harvey, the only time I saw Harvey was at TVs. He didn't travel with me on the road and that, but it was nice. I mean, he was a good person, good little talker, did his job, what he's supposed to do.
And were you one to travel solo? Did you have travel partners?
Yeah, here and there. I mean, the funny, when I worked with Davey, I had a long program with Davey, which went really, really well. And, we used to actually travel together. And of course we get to arenas with kayfabe and that stuff over there and that stuff, but, just because we got along so well, we worked out together in the gyms. Some people come with, aren't you guys fighting one another? I said, yeah, we are. I said, just kind of like football. Football's the same thing, guys. It doesn't mean you can't go out there after so you want to beat the hell out of one another. Right. I said, right now we're trading, but later on, I want to beat the hell out of him. He wants to beat the hell out of me. So, that's how it is, guys. But we make each other better by doing it. Yeah. We make each other better.
And we can't talk about the Powers of Pain without talking about the devious Mr. Fuji, the late, great Mr. Fuji, another fantastic manager. It was just kind of the perfect fit for you guys. It really was. And maybe even on paper, it was a little odd. It's like Mr. Fuji, okay, but seeing you guys together, it was just a fantastic run. What are your memories of Mr. Fuji?
Oh man, Fuji was great. Fuji taught me a lot about the business, in and out. He taught me about a lot of stuff about the office and that stuff. And he taught me a lot about being in the ring performance and that. Every night after we do the match, we would always talk about it for a little while, go through everything, see what we did good, what we did bad. And, just trying to help ourselves try and help us make us better all the time in that, Fuji loved us. And we love Fuji. Thank God, because if Fuji didn't like it, what would probably happen,
Right.
by that time he wasn't so bad anymore. He was older. He had been through so much and that stuff, when he was younger days, it was very different for him.
Mm.
But as he got older, he relaxed a little bit more. He didn't have all the gimmicks that he wanted to put on people and that anymore, so.
Exactly. And being known for one of the greatest ribbers of all
Yeah.
time, Mr. Fuji, obviously. But, British Bulldog was also known to be
Yeah.
kind of a bit of a prankster. Who were some of the other pranksters backstage that would kind of rib here and there?
Kurt Hennig. Kurt Hennig was good. Kurt was always bouncy. If you ever watch him, he always walked on his tiptoes. He didn't walk on his heels or on his flat. He walked on his tiptoes, all the time. But oh yeah, Kurt loved a rib. I'll tell you a good rib that got played on Davey. We were at Denver, Colorado, and of course Davey, me, and Owen was with us too. Owen's a good prankster too now.
Yeah.
Owen can rip. Owen could rip. I loved Owen and that stuff. And Davey says, oh, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go get a tan. Okay, Davey. So I said, I'm gonna finish my workout. And so he went in. About a minute later, Owen comes up and he goes, watch this, Terry. He goes up there, and when they turned that thing, he waited about 1 minute, he clicked it off. So Davey comes up, what happened to the tanning bed? And so the guy at front desk goes, here, I'll give you some more time. And Davey goes in there. So Owen gave him about 2 minutes this time. Click. Shut off again. Davey came up. He was like, what's wrong with my toilet bed? It's not working and that stuff. And the guy was playing along with us, So
right.
he says, listen, here, go ahead. I'll put you in this tanning bed. So he put him in another tanning bed, and Owen let him sit in there for a couple minutes. I said, click. Davey was so bad. He sat there. He wasted so much time and got maybe about 3 minutes of tanning and that stuff,
Wow.
It was hilarious, and he never found out. Owen was great at it. He was so good at doing just, and that's not mean stuff. That's just fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just fun stuff. But
And that's great to
to
hear.
this day, I remember it.
I never realized that the ribbers would actually rib the other ribbers. I didn't realize.
Oh
that.
yeah,
Oh,
oh yeah. Well, they're family,
Yeah.
of course. Davey and Owen, they're family. So I'm sure they've all ribbed enough, each other enough times.
Sure. Let's talk about the wrestling figures. You've had so many great figures over the years. Obviously, right now with Mattel, they're popping them out here and there. Some great iconic looks. Of course, your first WWF figure, the Hasbro figure, another iconic figure that people still love to this day. One of my personal favorite figures. What was it like getting your first action figure and kind of seeing that in the store for the first time?
It's nice. Pretty much when WWE comes out with them, I don't even know about them. I get texts by people and they say, hey, Terry, you got a new action figure? Come on, I do. And they'll send me when it's supposed to come out. I never knew the LJN one came out. I never knew the Hasbro one came out. The way I found out about the Hasbro one is, you remember the Mall America up in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And of course, I lived up there at that time. And so my mom and me went there one time. We were going through the place. We were going through this one store. And also my mom goes, stop. I said, why, Mom? She goes, stop, go backwards. I go back. She goes, look down. I said, there's all these Hasbro figures of me. I said, when did those come out? I had no clue those came out. That's how I found out about the little Hasbro one,
Wow.
The other ones, most people, they just sent me off texts that say, hey, you got an action figure coming out, And then, of course, now you got so many on the market, the big rubber guys. Matt is doing a great job with those things, I got a new one coming out, the Warlord one with the mask and everything else. The staff, he gave me the prototype, and it may be the best one yet.
He showed that
And
one off, and I thought that that was the greatest Warlord figure ever. It looks amazing.
yeah, it's just like wow. And Matt goes, well, it's been we got a new place in China that's making them for us now. They do a better job, but they're a little bit slower. So he said, I'm hoping by the fall it'll be out in that. But it just he said, man, when I showed that at the toy fair, he said people just went crazy. And then of course we just had the new Barbarian and Me, the new Maniacs, Powers of Pain. They did a great job on that one. I really love that one. And we got some other ones signed up, and I'm working on other ones right now. And I'm sure probably starting next year, new Mattel ones will come out. I'm keep hoping that Barb will get that Legends contract with WWE. He doesn't have one yet.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think we'll ever see him join you in action figure form?
I want him to so bad. You don't understand. I really want to. I hope that he gets that not too long. I mean, when Demolition got theirs, not this last year, but the year before at WrestleMania, I mean, that's when everything just took off for them. I mean, now you can't even keep up with their action figures and everything coming. Now they got the Funko, which out of all the action, I think that's the coolest thing of them all, the Funko, because that's what every little kid wants, those Funkos.
Right.
So when Barb gets that, and I believe it will happen, that we're going to start seeing a lot of action figures of Barb and me coming out.
Now, before the Mattel days, but after the Hasbro days, there was kind of a gap there, and you hadn't really done anything with WWF for quite some time. And the Jakks Pacific classic figures came around. How was that deal presented to you, and how did that all come about?
Pretty much they just said, we'd like to make action figures of you. I wish they would have made some of Barb and me together. I don't know. I don't know why that never happened and that stuff, that I can't answer. But the Jakks did a great job on them. I mean, I got 2 from them, and they're awesome in that. I love them.
Yeah.
So, and Jakks was always very, very good to me.
Good to hear. Great company, and they produce so many legends that you don't see in other lines. So it was nice to see all the different talents. So within the industry, what would you say your greatest challenge has been? Not in the ring, but just in the business in general.
Just deciding between being the Warlord and being Terry. So many guys get caught up in their character that they can't live outside the ring or in public without being who they were and that stuff in the ring. I can. I've got a regular job at a gentleman's club and that, and of course over there I'm Terry. I'm not Warlord, even though a lot of people call me Warlord, but I'm still Terry. Act as Terry and that stuff. That's very tough. Because some of these guys have gotten set into their characters so much, they don't know how to change it. Iron Sheik was one of them. He was always Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
It didn't matter and that stuff, and a lot of guys can't do that. And, and it's very tough on them. They can't get regular jobs because they can't be the regular person that they are. They just can't do it. I'm lucky enough that I was able to be able to do that and, and make a nice living on the outside also.
And on the flip side of that, what has the most rewarding been for you within the industry?
Just being, being able to become the character that I am, Warlord. It's so cool that, people look at it and people do call you Warlord, which is it's an honor because that means they really appreciate what you did and they loved what you did. And it makes you feel really good.
Yeah. What would you say was the number one piece of advice that you've ever received?
Oh boy. maybe from all the old timers, save your money, kid. So, because it doesn't last forever, which is true. It does not last forever.
Now, the locker room atmosphere, WWF, your NWA Jim Crockett days, what was the difference between the two?
There really isn't a whole lot of difference in that. So pretty much the guys are all the same in the locker room. Every time you go to the locker room, you always say hi to everybody. If you know them a little bit better, you ask about their family and that stuff. You always shake everybody's hand. And that's true in the business and that stuff back then. Everybody did that. There really wasn't a whole lot of difference.
Yeah. And what are your memories of Andre the Giant, the late great?
Andre was the type of person that if he liked you, he loved you. If he didn't, run. Because if those big hands got a hold of you, you're done. And there's some people he didn't like. He didn't like the Rockers. He didn't like some other people and that stuff, The one time I remember I flew Northwest Airlines all the time because they were based out of Minneapolis. I had a gold card because I flew so much with WWF back then. And so every night before I go on a flight, I could just call up and they give me automatic first class. So one day I get on the plane where I was sometime, and I will sit on the inside seat in the back row, first class, because I already had a big breakfast already. Every morning I was always up super early to have a breakfast, and there's only one seat left open on first class. Well, who comes in? Andre. Well, guess where he's going to sit? Now I'm 330 pounds at this time.
Right.
So Andre comes up. You know the center piece that divides it.
Yeah.
He took his big hand, put it around it, pulled it out, looked at the stewardess and said, "Stewardess, can you take this for me?" I said,
Wow.
"You got it." And he sits down. So I fell asleep. Okay. And I guess they're coming around to serve meals. Of course I was sleeping because I had a big meal already. And all of a sudden I get this big chop on my goddamn chest. Pop. I mean, his hand took up almost my whole chest.
Right.
"Boss, you want your food?" "Andre, you can have whatever you want. I can't breathe right now." I swear to God, I couldn't breathe. He chopped me so hard with that big hand. I mean, it's like, my God, I was trying to catch my breath from it.
Right.
But, I loved Andre and that stuff. Boss, he always liked me because he'd say, "Boss, you eat a lot. I like that. Big. That's why you big." So,
Right.
yeah, very good person.
So, food question for you. You're in a pinch. You're on the road, obviously, all the time in the wrestling world. What type of food are you going to go after when it comes? If you have to have fast food, what is it for you? And then when you have a meal of choice and you're in a setting where you can have whatever you want, what's the greatest meal for you?
Pretty much the one you can always depend on for fast food is pizza.
Yeah.
I ate pizza. One time I was in Wichita, Kansas, out the Kansas Coliseum. Now this is about 30 miles outside Wichita. It's in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful Coliseum, middle of nowhere. And we had to be there early that day. And man, there was no food, no nothing. I was starving. So I called back into town. I called a Domino's. And I said, "Can I get a pizza?" And they said, "Where?" I said, "I'm at the Kansas Coliseum." I said, "Well, we definitely don't deliver that far. I will give you $100 bill to deliver it to me out here." I said, "I am starving. I want a large pepperoni pizza." And the guy says, "Okay." And I swear, he brought it out there. He
Wow.
came all the way 30 minutes out there. He came. I told him what to do when he came to the back door. They came and got me. I went and got my pizza. Gave him a $100 bill and that stuff for doing. And of course, the cost of the pizza. And I came back, and of course, everybody wanted my pizza. They ain't gonna happen. You're gonna get a fight. That's my pizza, man. I mean that whole damn thing because I was starving. But yeah, it was always pretty much pizza when it came to that. Um, when a meal choice, when I would sit down, would be well, of course, a good steak.
Yeah.
Gotta have a good steak. Good steak, good, nice plain baked potato, nice salad. And some nice rolls. Just a nice, good firm meal.
Yeah.
They made you feel good.
Any memories of the late Tim White?
Um, yeah, that was the one he took around Andre all the time.
Yeah.
Tim was great referee, funny guy. You know, very nice person. We played a we I didn't play a rib, but one of the guys played a rib on him. We went to Italy, and he fell asleep. So some guys got out a marker, and they put a swastika on his forehead.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so he didn't know about it because he didn't use the bathroom on the plane. So we get off. We're going through, and of course, all the guards over, they have the finger on the Uzi all the time. That's how they are at the airports.
Yeah.
And they're looking at him, just staring at him. He goes, "How come they're all looking at me, man?" He's just looking around. So he goes to use the bathroom. Ah, just screamed because he saw that swastika on his forehead,
Oh my
and he had
god.
no clue on that. He had no clue on that.
Wow.
And yeah, it was fun. It was entertaining.
That's fantastic. Now, being a bigger guy, was it tough to travel for you? The planes, the cars.
The planes were much better back then. I mean, I was 330 pounds. I never had an issue sitting in a seat back then. They were bigger, more leg room. Now they're trying to pack so much into such a little area now. I mean, you sit in a seat, your knees are in the back of the other seat. You can barely fit in the seat. The other week I had to sit in a seat, and this woman sat next to me, and I mean, she was definitely over 400 pounds. I mean, and it was like I had the last middle seat open in my row of the whole plane. And she sat there, and when she sat down, everything went over the arm rails. I mean, it went into my seat halfway.
Uh-huh.
And I said, and I go in, I sit down. You can just feel the body, the sweat
Oh yeah.
touching me. And I'm like, I can't do this. I'm like leaning halfway into the goddamn, into the middle of the plane.
So Terry, when it comes to the iconic face paint, Powers of Pain, legendary face paint, kind of walk us through that. How long would it take to put the face paint on? Was it you doing it yourself? Was somebody else doing it for you? Kind of give us the background on that.
When it first started, Bruen was doing it for me. That only lasted so long because he got real sick of it. He said, Daddy, you got to do your own face paint. This is too much. I got to do my own. So I slowly started to learn it. And, when you start doing it so much, you start getting it down that, I mean, I didn't even need a big mirror anymore. I could use a little compact mirror and do it just from that. So it became easier and easier every time you do it, and less and less time to do it. And now I can do it up in, if I get going and the room's a little nice on the cool side, I can do it in 15 minutes and have it done.
Oh, wow. Wow. And when it comes to the iconic gear, whether it's your singles career as Warlord or, of course, Powers of Pain, do you still have that gear to this day, or any mementos from your career?
Oh, yeah. We still got our Powers of Pain gear. And I still have my outfit from when I was Warlord and that stuff, the futuristic one. But I got that in a suitcase. I'm not taking it out. I took it one time to a signing, and somebody scratched the mask, and that was the end of that.
Wow.
I want my things to be really nice, so when my kids get them someday, everything looks really nice for them.
That's great. Keep the legacy going for sure. Now, when it comes to the WWE Hall of Fame, if you get that call, did you ever think about maybe who you would choose to induct you?
Are you talking as singles? You talking as tag, or?
I guess either way, if you go in as Powers or just as yourself.
If I went in by myself, I would love to have Batista. For the fact that in his podcast, he always says I was the one that seen me on TV, was the one that got him started to want to do professional wrestling. He said I was the biggest man he had ever seen in his life at that time, and it really motivated him to become a professional wrestler. I mean, that would be an honor, especially from a guy like that had the title how many times, and also, is it a Marvel or is it DC comic he is? Which one is it?
I believe
Guardians of the
that's
Galaxy.
Marvel.
Marvel. I mean, nothing better. You can't get any better than being a Marvel character.
Exactly right.
That is so awesome. I mean, that's just so cool. If it was tag, we would love to have Demolition.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that we're so close to them, and to this day we're very, very close with them, and it would just be an honor because we had such a, we wrestled them so much in the WWE at the time and that stuff, and it would be a lot of fun.
Now, looking at your solo career, your singles career within the World Wrestling Federation, do you have a favorite match that stands out?
There would be two. Number one, of course, is Davey Boy WrestleMania 7. Love that match. Great match. Two styles that went together, and two big guys, the way we were built, and we could still move the way we did. Everything just clicked. The second one would have been Nassau Coliseum, my first time ever wrestling Hulk Hogan as a singles. That was that was something else. To this day, I still remember, being in a ring, him coming down that little aisle. All you see is his big blonde hair waving back and forth, the finger pointing in the air. He gets up on the goddamn apron. He goes back and forth. He points at me, and when he pointed at me, everything went black. I didn't see anything in front of mine. I mean, just literally black. It seemed like a long time. It probably wasn't that long, but it seemed like a long time. Yeah. And the next time when I opened my eyes, he was in the ring going back and forth, ripping his shirt off, and all those flashes going off out there. I mean, it was just insane, And I looked down, I got these huge goosebumps on my arms, and I just thought to myself, man, I'm here with Hulk Hogan. I'm actually in the ring in a singles with Hulk Hogan. I mean, that was awesome. Those two times were incredible.
And only a certain amount of people can say that. Not everybody gets to step in the ring and, with Hulk, especially in his prime.
Yeah, it was fun, man. It was awesome. Loved it.
Now, a lot of the guys say, they wanted to get, obviously back then there was an A card, a B card, sometimes even a C card. and a lot of people wanted to be on the Hulkster's card,
Of course.
per se. Now, did you often get on that card, or did you have a preference as to what card you were on? And was there actually an influx in pay if you were on the Hulk card?
Oh, everybody wanted to be on the Hulk card. 'Cause Hulk card, you're gonna get a good pay night.
Okay.
I mean, that's the way it is, and because there's always be a big audience, and of course you're paid, nightly and that stuff, So if you're on his card, you get a nice pay night, especially if you're higher up on the card. You're gonna do really, really well. Warrior always did well. His card. I mean, we ran 3 towns at one time, and we were running 3 cities every single day for a while. I mean, it was incredible how crazy wrestling was at that time and the drawing it was doing. Of course, Hulk on the very big one. Warrior usually handled the second one, and then you put maybe Rick Rude or somebody else on top of the third one. And I mean, it was insane.
And looking at the roster during your WWF days specifically, who would you say some of the toughest individuals were, even outside of the ring, other than yourself, of course?
Well, of course, everybody knows Haku. Everybody knows he's legendary.
Right.
He definitely was, probably the toughest, nicest guy in the world. He'll
Yeah.
give you the shirt off his back in a heartbeat. But if you step over that one little line, and it's a little red line, boy, he takes care of matters real quick, and it's done fast. My partner, Barbarian, he was, believe me, he's very, very tough guy. I mean, he was 310 pounds at that time, strong as an ox. He could move I mean, him and Haku, they both went to Japan and sumo, so they learned that center of balance,
Yeah.
because as sumo, you learn center of balance.
Sure.
And they learn those strikings where they always, hit those poles and that punching that just like boop, boop, real quick, and they move real fast and that stuff. I mean, and then of course they both can kick above their head like nothing. I mean, they're like Anderson Silva's, except they're 300-pound guys.
Right.
I mean, big tree trunk legs and that stuff. I mean, and they both can move so fast. I mean, it's incredible. But those are the two toughest guys, I would say. Yeah, I'd put Dino Bravo up there. Dino was a tough guy, and of course Rick Rude. Rick Rude wasn't the biggest guy, but he was tough. He was a legit tough guy.
And do you still follow pro wrestling today? Do you watch any of the big promotions?
No, I don't watch any of it. I mostly hear from other people. They keep me up on it when I see them and that stuff. They tell me what's going on, and pretty much once I hear that, I can figure it out. It's exactly what's happening and that.
Right.
I listen. I give them a lot of credit. They're great. They're great. They're great athletes. The things they do in the ring, the flips, all the stuff they do is incredible and that stuff. The problem is they're just not telling a story. They don't settle down. They don't let the people become a part of the match. Sure, the people are yay because they're seeing all these big moves, but how, as an individual, you're trying to keep it at least halfway realistic. How do you kick out of something that awesome and kick out? Or sometimes you give them that move and you turn around and they're right up before you even are.
Yeah.
Standing there waiting for you. It's like, what the heck? I just gave you this incredible move and you're up before I even am. I mean, it's crazy in that stuff. They don't slow it down. They don't let the people become a part of the match where the people can start clapping. They can do this. They can do that. That was the old school mentality and that stuff. But as I say, they're incredible athletes, and and they got the kids. The kids love them, and if you got the kids, you got everything.
I still enjoy wrestling today, but obviously my favorite era, 80s and 90s. Bret Hart wants to apply the sharpshooter. He's going to work the leg throughout the match, and you'll see him working that leg. And, they don't really do that stuff anymore, and they don't tell the story as often. So it's kind of a lost art for sure, or they maybe would tease the finisher throughout the match. And then finally they hit that finisher. And if they hit that finisher, it was over. That was it.
That was Jake. Now, Jake did that a lot with the DDT. He worked out a lot during the match. We almost have and go for him, and the guy would slip out. He'd go to the ground, and get back up and hold his arm and then finally, boom, pop it and nail it.
Exactly.
I mean, Jake was great at that.
Yeah. Now, what would you say? Vince McMahon, obviously the man behind the magic in the WWF at that time, the man who built the empire along with all the superstars. And how was it with Vince backstage for you personally? What were your interactions like with him?
I got along good with Vince and that stuff. Of course, he liked me how large I was and that stuff, Um, but I always got along good with Vince. Vince was always straightforward with me and everything and that. A lot of times, you'd see him, but a lot of times you couldn't say, "God, he was so busy." I mean, when he was at the things that I was at, it was usually TV tapings or pay-per-views or Madison Square Garden where, I mean, he's just going everywhere in that stuff, making sure everything's just right in that. So sometimes very tough, but he would always stop and shake your hand and say hi and all that. And I mean, he was always very good at that.
And how about the legendary ring announcer Howard Finkel? Any personal memories from him?
I didn't really know Howard that well, of course, just, a great ring announcer. But outside that, you really didn't see him that much because he was, mostly, like I say, TV tapings, pay-per-views, Madison Square Garden. That's where he was. And of course, he was in the ring the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, he was out there pretty much out there all the time in that. So, I mean, that was his job.
Yeah. You talk about your favorite singles match. Now, looking at the tag team aspect of things, obviously, you said you've worked with Demolition hundreds of times. Is there a specific tag team match that's your favorite over the years?
Um, I loved, I loved several of them. Actually, like about three of them. Of course, Demolition WrestleMania 5. That was fun with Mr. Fuji. Great match. Great finish. Working with those guys, I mean, they're incredible and that stuff. I mean, it's you got Bill and you got Barry, so many years behind them, so much knowledge and that stuff. And it was an honor to wrestle them because I learned a lot from it. Because I was a young boy, so I learned a lot working with those guys. Of course, the Road Warriors, NWA. We had fantastic matches with them, starting with that bench press contest where we laid them out, and then of course after that, everywhere was sold out everywhere we went. And I mean, those were tough matches. I mean, we went at it. It
Oh, yeah.
was you're scrapping, man. You're going. And then maybe the biggest high flying one was working with the Rockers.
Mm.
The Rockers could fly. You could give them something. I swear they put a goddamn parachute on. They got so high, and they just float back down and take another one right after that. They were and Marty and Sean worked so great together. They knew each other so well. They were just so great in the ring, and the bumps they took. I mean, when I look back at them, I give him a goddamn Marty a backdrop. I turn around, he hasn't even hit the goddamn ground yet. He's still in the air. I mean, it's like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, the bumps they could take and everything. But when they did their double team, they were incredible when they double team us and that stuff.
Yeah.
They were very good at what they did.
We talked about the traveling earlier in the interview. When it comes to nightlife, were you one that would just kind of go back to the hotel? Would you go out with the boys? What was nightlife for you with the WWF?
It really depended on what night it was, where we're at, how early I had to be up for my flight, because most days we had real early flights. I always went by how my body felt. I'd go out here and there, and of course, we'd always, if we did go out, we'd go to a strip club because you didn't want to go to a regular club because people bug you so much. If you go to a strip club, pretty much people will just leave you alone. They respect you in that. You'd have your own little area and be left alone and then just enjoy yourself. Maybe get a nice meal there, and then head back right after that. But most of the time, I didn't like hanging at the bars and the hotels. I was never really into that stuff.
Yeah.
So most of the time, I try going back and try getting whatever rest I could.
Hmm. And let's talk about WCW. You would move back on to WCW 95 to 96, one of the big mass men as the Super Assassins, managed by Colonel Robert Parker. My first half of the question, what was Colonel Parker like behind the scenes? How did you like having him as a manager? And what was it like being back with Barb once again?
It was nice. I mean, Colonel Parker was a nice guy. Like I say, the only time I ever saw him was when we did the TVs and that stuff. So, you really didn't see him that much. But like I say, he was a very nice man. He was a good manager, good talker. He knew his job and he did a good job of it. And of course it was always nice being back with Barb and that. It felt weird being under those masks. It didn't make sense to me, just for the fact that everywhere we went, we'd go to the ring, everybody yell, "Hey Warlord, hey Barbarian." I mean, boy, we're really hiding under these masks really good, huh? I mean, you can really hide the size and the
Right.
look under these masks.
Tough to hide you
Well,
guys
knew
under a
exactly
mask.
who we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we could have said Powers of Pain because we owned it. We had it. I had Warlord. He had Barbarian, and I think it would have done very good over in WCW.
And you worked with teams while you were there, like the American Males, Sting and Lex Luger, the Nasty Boys, and a host of others. Did you have a favorite match in WCW specifically?
Not really, because I didn't really have a ton of matches when I was there, so I really can't say there was really a favorite match and that stuff, and plus, I really didn't even know some of the tag teams we were even working with at the time, so it was kind of hard at that time, because I just kind of stayed out of it and that, and then also one day they just said, hey, we'd like you to come in and try this gimmick for us, so.
Well, Warlord, thank you so much for joining us. It's been the All Access Entertainment Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's been an honor to have you, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Joe. I just want to thank all the great fans and that stuff for always watching us and backing us and standing by us and that stuff. We appreciate it. So Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it, Joe. Thank you. And everybody have a great week, okay?
I appreciate it, Terry. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Joe.